Teammates, we are back once again. If this is your first time listening to the Move Swiftly podcast, welcome to the show. Great to have you. To my regular listeners, we are here with, once again, another fellow co-author from this incredible, fantastic literary work called The Six-Figure Athlete. I'm telling you, man, listen, I'm only waiting on you, Kendra Brim. I've had every other author on but you, Kendra Brim. So we got to get you on the show to finish this little thing out. But today, I have Ms. Julia Rock, the founder of Rock Career. Say it again. It's Rock Career
Development.
Rock Career Development. And the title of her chapter is Leverage Your Network. And again, I've been on record saying on multiple occasions, your network is your net worth. And reading her chapter again, it brought these same kind of feelings back. So with all that, Julia, welcome to the show. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you doing today?
I'm fantastic. I'm happy we finally were able to get this done. You know, it's been an incredible journey.
Yes, absolutely. I know we had to move things around, but we made it. We made it happen.
All right. So let's just start off there. How did you first get involved with the book and, leverage your network? Like, where did this whole thing come about? I'll just give you the mic to kind of talk a little bit about how you were contacted or what got you into this project as well.
Sure. So my work as a career coach, as part of Rock Career Development, is focusing on helping athletes and professionals in career transitions to find what I call their next career play. And so in doing my work with coaching athletes, I actually connected with Taj Deshawn. And so Taj was the one who brought me into the project, someone who himself is a former athlete, understands the struggle of transitioning to life after sports, and understood my background and from a career coaching perspective, and thought that my perspective and interest would be of use to the project.
Yes. Taj Deshawn is a very familiar name on this show. He was actually my first guest on this show, and he's a former teammate of mine at Stony Brook. So, Taj Deshawn has been mentioned quite a bit on this show, man. Love you, bro. Appreciate all the work we've been able to do and the things that we will continue to do, man. There's some great things going on. But, to get back to you, Julia, when you say you help athletes transition into the next phase of life, I mean, just saying that is obviously easy, but the actual doing part, the actual, teaching them, this athlete who has been told how great he or she is their whole life and put so many hours, so much time into doing this one thing, and, it's over like that. That can be a very, very difficult task and a very difficult thing to try to even communicate with young athletes. Just telling them, look, you're not going to play pro. Just saying that in itself almost is like pulling teeth. So can you provide some details on how your thing or how your approach is when it comes to dealing with that part of it?
Absolutely. So the work that I do really starts at the mindset and clarity space for that very reason, because it's easy to say, okay, well, go get a job after you graduate from college or after you stop playing professionally. But there's so much pre-work that has to happen prior to that, because you have to be mentally ready for that journey. You have to be mentally ready for that shift. So the first part of the coaching that I do with athletes is helping them to understand what this next chapter may mean for them. So it's not about starting over. It's really about starting fresh. We also dig into their interests now after sports. So what are things that they have found interest in? If they haven't found interest, where are they spending time? How are they helping people in their personal lives? Are there things that they had considered, years ago, even when they were in college, but then obviously put aside because of sports? So we seek to explore a number of different avenues for them to see, okay, is there something more there beyond sports, and where can I shift those interests into? And also one of the things that I do is, besides the clarity piece, is also helping them to understand what transferable skills they have. Part of the apprehension beyond, hey, I've been a star athlete my whole life, part of the apprehension is, well, what do I actually go and do now? What skills do I have to lend to a career that's not on the court, on the field, et cetera? And so part of what we talk about as well is, what transferable skills have you developed as an athlete that would be an asset in the business or, corporate world? Where can your skills fit? So that's just a little bit as to how we dig into it. So it's both the clarity and mindset as well as the transferable skills.
But also, I'm looking at your chapter now. And
Mhm.
I have it, by the way, it's highlighted, it's like color, dog ear, the whole nine, because I kept, there were so many points in there I want to bring up. So, but the first thing on page 129, it says
Mhm.
network at the second to last paragraph. It says networking is about creating genuine connections. Now there's an episode on this show titled just making genuine connections. How
Mhm.
can you kind of walk us through, like, let's say there's an athlete listening right now that hears what you're saying, or not even an athlete really, because most of the time in my experience it's really the parents that are kind of pushing for this, or just the person that's dropping this athlete off to practice every day, spending all the money on their registration fees, for uniforms, all that stuff, all the stuff that's going on behind the scenes, spending money for camps and knowing they ain't going to the league. Can you speak a little bit about how you are able to teach making genuine connections, especially at a young age? Because what so many of you guys, and I've said this thousands and thousands of times, what so many of you young athletes don't realize is when you play, you have an unbelievable opportunity to connect with these people that are coming out and supporting you, connect with these people that are volunteering, connect with all of these folks that are doing things in the community. So can you speak on that just a little bit?
Yeah, sure. So when it comes to genuine connections, what I really mean is step back from the transaction. Too
Mm-hmm.
often, folks are looking to just get to know somebody because the hope is that they're going to connect you with a role or an opportunity or whatever it might be. So when I say genuine connections, is how can you create a relationship that's not predicated on whether or not you get something? And so from a parent's perspective, is who are good people for your child to be around as they progress in their career,
Mm-hmm.
whether or not they're going to get something out of it, but who are good people that could be a good influence that they could learn from, that can help your child develop. And because something may come years down the road. So whether it's coaches, whether it's trainers, whether it's recruiters, whether it's peer organizations, you have to look around, where can my child best thrive and create genuine bonds with individuals. So it's not just about trainers and coaches either. Who on their teams are there other teams that they can connect with the youth there? Are there other programs that they can connect with the youth there? Because many of the times when it comes to networking, as you get older, the people who have been working alongside you may be the people that can open a door for you. So too often we want to just network upward when we also need to network across
Mm-hmm.
and build
Wow.
genuine relationships. So that's really the idea, especially like I
Yeah.
said, for parents. It's like, who can your child be around to create healthy relationships, to help them grow, to help them develop, and then maybe down the road something can happen.
Yes, and I mean, if you need an example of that, for you listeners, just look at this interview right now. Who do we start off talking about? Taj and I met in 2009, over 10 years ago, as teammates. I was a walk-on, he was an incoming freshman, and look at what has happened 15 years later. There's two books out now, doing some major things and just connecting people. And again, we were just athletes, college athletes that didn't really have much of anything. But it was about knowing each other, just getting to know each other. Again, our personalities aligned, and 15 years later, look at the kinds of things that happen. And it actually takes me to another gem you dropped in your chapter, which is, it says most people like opportunities, however no one likes an opportunist. I'll like
Yes.
listen, I read a lot of books, Julia, and I never came across that line. That one hit me hard, because you can tell. Yeah, you can tell when you're talking to someone who wants a genuine opportunity versus someone who's simply trying to use you or get one over on you. Again, and especially in the football world, now where it's just scholarship and you want to be a Division I player and all that kind of stuff. Now with NIL money, which we'll get
Oh
to in a
yeah.
second, but just speak a little bit about that line in itself.
Absolutely. To your point, no one likes to feel like they're being used, right? So
Yes,
so
ma'am.
many times
Oh,
people will go and they'll start a conversation, but it's within the first 10 seconds, it's like, okay, so what is this person leading up to, right? The conversation seems very hollow. It
mhm.
seems like, okay, that they're just looking for what they can get, and that's why the genuine connection is so important. And so there's two ways to go about it. One, if you do want something, there's nothing wrong with asking up front, right? Versus trying to sweet talk the person and act like you're actually interested in what's going on with them, but you really aren't, because people can smell fakeness from a mile away. So if you're going to ask, just ask. That's the first thing. But the second thing is also when it comes to relationships, make sure you continue to nurture them. Too often we connect with someone, they never hear from us again until we need something. And then it's like, well, hi, how are you doing, Julia? Good to talk to you. And it's like, I haven't spoken to you in like 6 years, right? And
Right,
so
right, right. Yes, yes, yes.
and so again, coming across as someone who's trying to get an opportunity out of you, coming across as an opportunist, knowing that they haven't tried to create a relationship with you. So that's the biggest piece of advice that I would share is make sure you're maintaining relationships. Don't just connect, maintain connections on an ongoing basis.
Yes, and you also mentioned that it's not possible, actually, completely impossible for you to do this with every single person. So you have to find a target or a niche group of people. What do you recommend that people do that? Like what are the steps? Because that in itself is very challenging, especially for me. When I just graduated, I know I wanted to be a coach. I know I wanted to work in sports, and I was literally willing to just meet everyone, drive everywhere, to take every single meeting, not know what I was doing. I mean, I lost so much money in gas and all this and I had a hybrid. So so you already know I was driving around.
Yeah.
So, what do you recommend when it comes to that?
For sure. So what it really comes down to is what are your goals? What are
Mm,
your goals? What is the reason that you're trying to cultivate this network to begin with? Because is it that you're trying to grow your business? Is it trying to gain visibility? Are you trying to score a sports opportunity? Again, it's not because you were going to ask a question today, but what direction are you trying to head into? That way you can find who else is on this path, who is in this space that it would make sense for me to build relationships with. Sometimes you may come across organic conversations for something that's totally unrelated, and that's fine. But in
mhm.
terms of where you're going to put your energy, it's about what are my goals? What am I trying to get to? What does success look like for me? And are these people that I can learn from, but also serve as well? So it's not just a one-way street, but who are people that I can also add value to? Because then that'll help you to focus your efforts of, hey, this person and I don't really have much in common. There's not common ground. And how much time do I really want to devote here versus over here? Where it's like, hey, there's some synergies here. We can maybe both help one another. We both got the same kind of goals and aspirations. And that can help you to really target your efforts.
Yes, yes. And nowadays, and you are speaking to me now at a time where I literally just sent over a payment to my first college athlete. I am officially actually someone who's doing NIL deals with college athletes. And now I actually going to be hosting an NIL info session coming up this fall. And I'll be talking about it all summer and stuff like that. But now that we have that, and one of the things, actually, it was another co-author, Michelle Meyer, who was talking to me a little bit about this on a previous episode. Now that opportunity is here, all right, and it's not that everyone's going to be Caleb Williams, right? It's not that everyone's going to be Angel Reese or making these major $1 million, but there's an opportunity here for every athlete to really focus in and focus on the companies that they want to work for, so that they know exactly. Because I got news for 99% of you guys. Y'all ain't playing in the pros. 99% of you guys are not playing in the pros. I'll just put it out there now. I don't know if it's the first time you're hearing that. If you have been listening to the show for any significant amount of time, then that's not the first time you heard it. But I'm just letting you know, it's not going to be, most of you are not going to play there. So can you speak a little bit about how this new NIL deal has either helped your business, or what opportunities has it given you? What advice do you sort of give when it comes to navigating the NIL space now?
Yeah, so I've actually had some student athletes who are either looking to expand,
Mm-hmm.
maybe they have one deal, or they're looking to get into that space. And so for me, what I've been able to share with them is thinking about brands that are in alignment. Because when
Yes.
you're trying to build a personal brand now, because to your point, for those who may never play in the pros, the brand that you're building now is going to be critical
Yeah.
for your future success. And so
Right.
I talk about how do you find that alignment. And so in terms of what I've been able to share with them, it's really around that. It's like, what brands are in alignment? And then also outside of the brand deals themselves, it's also about how do you manage this money as well? There's so much talk about getting these deals and scoring and
Mm-hmm.
making as much money as possible, but also how are you managing your money to make sure that you're not just blowing through the funds that you get from this deal?
Wow.
And how is it going to be a stepping stone for you in the future to create new opportunities, new business, expand and improve your quality of life beyond just this short period while you're playing in school?
Yes, and man, that there's so many directions we can go in that, but I want to make sure we talk about your business and your company and stuff like that. How were you able to come about that? Because I know you don't just do athletes, you do also corporate speaking and things like that. So feel free to kind of talk about that as well.
Sure. So actually, I've been a career coach now unofficially since 2006, and then
Wow,
officially since 2013. So
this
I've been
is
in the game a
divine.
long
I
time.
graduated high school in 2007, so that gives you some perspective on how you know what I'm saying. That's how educated you are in this business, because it was such a shift. It was such a shift in terms of the landscape of how things are now then to how they are now. So
Absolutely. And so coaching for such a long time, I've learned so much about what it takes to find career success and find opportunities and shift between opportunities. And then in 2021, that's when I actually started to coach athletes. Because for me, I had helped one athlete to find
mhm.
a job after he came back from playing overseas. But then I've
Okay.
realized that there was such a need in the market after, I was like, yay for him. But then I'm like, wait a minute, he's not the only athlete out there that would need this kind of service
Wow.
to find their career after sports. So I don't have a sports background.
Hmm.
I was not blessed with any athletic ability at all,
Right.
but I was blessed with the heart to help others. And I think there's, when it comes to athletes, especially pro athletes, there's this idea that they've got gobs and gobs of money. They're set for life. And while
Hmm.
that's the case for some athletes, that's not the case for the majority of them. And then for student athletes, for those who don't play, they've got to go find a career after
Hmm.
they graduate, which is like you said, it's 99% of them that are going to have to find something else after they graduate.
Hmm.
So, so that's really how I got into this space. And then obviously, like I said, I connected with Taj Deshawn and then some
Hmm.
others in this space, so I can seek to add value. But my real goal when it comes to athletes, and as well as the professionals in transitions, are helping them to find something that fulfilling and meaningful as well as lucrative. I don't want it to be just the focus on passion and because you can't take passion to the bank. It doesn't pay bills. The utility company does not care about your passion. They want to make sure you can keep
Hmm.
those lights on in the house. But
Yeah, actually,
also,
that's what I was going to ask you now, because again, we're talking passion, but at the end of the day, money talks. How do you where
facts.
does that balance come from? Where does that balance come from? How do you go about teaching these technical skills when it comes to what's going to make money? Because I talk about it all the time. When it comes to tech work, I know it's very lucrative, but for me, it's just not interesting. But I know it's lucrative, so that's something I kind of would impart to my nephew as he's getting to that age. So.
Absolutely. So the benefit that
Mhm.
that that I have is that I've been in the corporate space for a long time. I'm a corepreneur, so I'm not online fronting like I'm a full-time
Yeah.
entrepreneur. But because I've been in
It's
the
still
corporate
the same,
space
man.
so long.
Still the same grind. Doesn't matter. Any preneur, it's a lot of work. So, man.
Absolutely. And so also because I've been coaching for so long, I have a good sense of career opportunities that exist. So typically when I'm talking
I got
to clients around, well, what actually interests you?
you.
So for example, I've had people say, well, I really want to do nonprofit work. Yeah. But it's like, okay, but how much is the nonprofit space going to pay you? Unless you're
Hmm.
an ED or something like that, where you're in the most senior levels of
Yep.
the organization, you're not getting paid a ton of money. So how can you shift that into, like, say, a corporate environment, whether it's corporate philanthropy, giving back, community outreach, where you're still getting a corporate style salary, but it's still serving the population? Or is there an opportunity for you to work a corporate job that serves other interests, but perhaps you lead the initiative in your workplace for community outreach or giving back and identifying the right opportunities for partnerships? So that's how I help them to kind of bridge the gap. It's like, well, what are you actually interested in? And let's
Hmm.
see the kind of opportunities that exist in the corporate space or in the business space. Where can those interests sync up and you can still make money? But I always talk to my clients about money. Passion does not pay bills. You've also got to find something lucrative.
And the relevant theme as you're talking, and I hope you as listeners are picking up on this, is she constantly is telling you, look, you gotta know what you want. You gotta know what you want. You gotta have a clear idea on your goals. And it is never too early to start this type of thinking. I'll never forget, actually, it was myself and my mother. This one I was literally a little kid, and we went to Football America, and this is out in Maryland, and we bought a face mask, and this is before they became a store. And my mother asked the guy, yo, what does it take to get internship opportunities? She was out there shopping me early, teaching me, look, these are the kind of people you need to be knowing. And we found out, actually, it was Football America that started up the Art Monk football camp. And they sent me to the Art Monk football camp. And now, as I'm in that space now, I know certain things. I used to work for FBU, and I know certain things when it comes to getting people to camps and how those things work. Now, again, not a lot of money being made in just the camp business, but when you look at a Football America that sells equipment, face masks, all those things, okay, now we could take the nonprofit corporate camp stuff, merge it with the stuff that actually sells product, and then boom, we have a business. So the early and earlier you're able to adopt this mindset, then you can create more and more. And it's very, very important that you connect with folks just like Julia, and get all the authors I've had on this, all the authors I've had on the show. Get with these people, because it's just like the title says, converting your skills into cash. It's not going to happen overnight. It's not going to happen without some help and some assistance in that regard. So, I want to be very respectful of your time, Julia. I don't want to keep you on here for too long. So, can you please just tell people what's next, what you got coming down the pipeline, what can we expect, and things of that nature?
Sure. So actually, I'm really excited. Next week, next Saturday, the May 20th, I'm actually giving a TEDx talk out in California.
Let's go.
So that's the next thing on the horizon. I am also speaking at the NIL Combine with Savonia DeBarros. That's happening in July. Yeah. And then also I have I'm co-authoring another project, which is the Athlete to Entrepreneur book that should be out in July as well.
The second one, volume 2?
Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
Yeah. Oh man, I can't wait to read it. I read the first one too.
Yeah, so really excited about that. And then the last thing is that I have my group coaching program that I relaunched called Pivot, or one-on-one coaching, it's called Pivot, and it's really around helping people to make that career shift as well, whether they're an athlete or professional. How can they be enabled to make their next career, next career step? So lots going on, lots happening, really excited about it.
Awesome. And what would be the best way for people to get in touch with you?
Absolutely. So they can find me online at the Julia Rock on all social media platforms. Twitter and Instagram are probably the easiest places to find me. And then from an email perspective, they can always email me at hello@rockcareer.com. And then they can visit my website, rockcareer.com, so that they can see what we offer. And then they can also contact us through the site as well.
Okay. Great. And I'll also include all that in the show notes as well. And one thing that I do to close out all the shows is, Julia, I want you to use your imagination. I want you to pretend that your younger self, or version of your younger self, has just come into the Zoom room. I want you to pretend that she's here now. And, she's struggling, she's dealing with an injury, she's an athlete or whatever, she just does not have her way. She's not knowing where to go, and she's really, really hurting. And just speak to that person, give them some words of encouragement, and we will officially close with that.
Sure. So I would tell younger Julia that this is not the end. This is the beginning for you. So even if you're feeling injured, even if you have an injury, or you're feeling hurt, whatever it might be, there is still an opportunity for you after this. You can still have a lucrative career. You can still complete your education. There's still so much that is ahead of you. Do not give up. Lean into and find your interests, and then let that carry you the rest of the way.
Yes, ma'am. You talk. Well, actually, you know what? I gotta drop the mic with the last thing you said in the chapter, because it was a great African proverb. Hold up, real quick. Let me find it. Where is it? Leverage your network. All right. Yes, and I hate to spoil the book, but this was a good way of dropping the mic. The last line If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. African proverb. Shout out
That's
to you,
right.
Julia Rock. Appreciate it. Appreciate it. Thank you for coming on. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you
All
so
right.
much.
Fellow teammates, continue to move swiftly. We will talk more soon.